Just a little bit about myself. I'm a second generation real estate investor. I've been licensed since 2009, so going on 14 years, but I've been in real estate much longer as an investor. And I've done various roles. I'm currently a broker associate with eXp Realty. I've been with them for 9 years. And then also have a production team in the state of Oklahoma of about 8 agents in Oklahoma City and Tulsa, where we lead generate for them and have a referral group, as well as what we call a revenue share organization with eXp, which is comprised of almost 2,000 agents all across the globe with my husband and myself. So real estate agent, just like you guys, investors and team leaders. Also was named one of the top 100 in 2019, 2020, named social media influencer. And just like many of you, married and mother of 2 wonderful boys, so balancing home life and professional life, of course. And today, what I'm going to share with you is much of what I do exactly on a daily basis in really attracting top talent to the brokerage that I'm affiliated with over the last 9 years. Granted, when I got into this industry or this type of work, I was not a quote unquote recruiter. I was not looking to grow a massive production team. Really didn't even have any idea that there were ways to attract agents into an organization that was a global opportunity. So I say that because there are a lot of mindsets out there that, I can't do it. I don't know a lot of agents. I don't know anything about recruiting. I don't know how to build a team, etc. And I'm here just to share with you that 9 years ago, I didn't know any of that either. So, definitely just kind of some food for thought that I think if I can do it, anybody can do it. You just got to be willing to learn and kind of dive in. And the first place to start, much like with anything, is number one is commitment. You have to commit. Commitment is an act. It's not a word. A lot of people think that they're committed, but they're not committed to those daily tasks. They're not committed to their goals. And more importantly, they haven't put a timeline on their goals. So when we think about SMART goals, SMART are specific, they're measurable. It's something that you're putting an actual timeline to your goals, and you're willing to push a little bit further every single day and try to have either a big win or a small win every single day. And so what I look at it at the end of the day, when I evaluate my day, I want to say, did I push the needle forward in my business? Did I have a win today, whether it be big or small, right? So that's really step number one, is you have to commit and ask yourself, how badly do you want it? And then what are your goals? Are they short-term goals or are they long-term goals? When we think about being a real estate agent, and if you're just joining us, please put your name, license number, and email in the chat. That way you can get CE credit for Oklahoma. So when we think about being a real estate agent with short-term goals, short-term is the fact that, we're helping represent buyers and sellers. So let me ask you guys, what happens when we represent buyers and sellers, we go to closing, and then what happens to our business? Does anybody know? Well, I can tell you it dies, and we become unemployed, and we got to start the process all over again. Is that right? So we start prospecting. We have some deals. We might have some buyers, a handful of buyers that we're working with, might have a few listings that go under contract. We close on them, we get paid, and then we have to start the process all over again. So that's what we consider a short-term goal. Now, long-term is about creating systems and processes that are duplicatable, that can be leveraged, and ultimately create, hopefully, multiple streams of income. So typically speaking, not all the time, a real estate agent is compensated. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me see who's not muted here. Okay, there we go. I think I muted everybody. So typically speaking, when we think about short-term goals, that's representing buyers and sellers. So a real estate agent is compensated by helping a buyer or seller. Maybe there's other things that you do like property management, etc., or maybe you're even a real estate investor. Now, when we look at long-term and creating systems and processes that are duplicatable, that's where either recruiting comes into play, where we call it agent attraction. Maybe you get compensated through your real estate brokerage through attracting other real estate agents to the company, and even building out a team. The only way that you can leverage yourself, because the fact of the matter is we all have the same 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but the only way to buy back your time is through having delegation and leverage. And so that's a lot of reasons why team leaders start a production team, is so now they can really focus on getting the business and be having everybody else actually working in the business. I think Tony Robbins says it best, if you were to step away from your business today, would it grow or die? And I would say 99% of agents that I talk to, their answer is that their business would die because their business is contingent upon just them and their personal efforts. Now, if you're able to leverage yourself, and as I mentioned, create systems and processes that are duplicatable, then even when you step away from your business, maybe it's going on vacation, it's going to continue to grow. A lot of times real estate agents go on vacation and they pay for their vacation twice. They actually pay financially for their vacation, but then they pay for the vacation for the time that they took off, because the time took off is time away from their business, which since is money that they're not making. And then also, if you look at it, are you a business owner or are you a business operator? So I think a lot of us get into real estate to become business owners, to be our own boss, to have financial freedom and unlimited possibilities. But the fact of the matter is, if your business is contingent just upon you and your efforts, then Tony Robbins would argue that you're a business operator and not a business owner. So just ask yourself, which are you? Number one, are you committed? And number two, do you want to be a business owner or do you want to be a business operator? And then, of course, we've got to get rid of any limiting beliefs. So when we look at it, the only reason why someone can't attract agents is either a lack of understanding of their current brokerage model, maybe that they're recruiting to, or their team, or a lack of belief in themselves. So I'm going to repeat that again, because this is one of the biggest takeaways from today. The only reason someone can't attract agents is either a lack of understanding for the brokerage model and or team, or the lack of belief in themselves. So I get both of these every single day. Agents are trying to recruit agents, but they don't understand the brokerage model and they're giving misinformation. Or the flip side of that, they want to recruit, but they believe that they can't. Maybe they're a newer agent and they believe that they can't go off after any top teams or broker owners or top producers. I'm here to kind of debunk that and just tell you that's absolutely not true. As a matter of fact, I'm working with a 100 agent brokerage right now that's going to be joining toward the end of the year. And the person that introduced me to that 100 agent brokerage is somebody that's brand new to real estate, that never had a transaction, but he had a connection with this broker owner. And then he utilized a third-party validation, which we'll talk about later on. He utilized his upline, ourselves, to really be able to be that resource and give the information that's needed. So now when that brokerage comes on, he's able to now recruit a 100 agent brokerage before he's ever sold any real estate. Same thing with my husband. My husband got licensed a handful of years ago. He was always in real estate as a real estate investor, but not as an agent. Came on and now he has almost 600 agents in his group without ever selling a house. So although we, of course, encourage everyone to be in production and to sell real estate, because we are in the real estate business, I share that with you just to say that it's absolutely possible. So the quote here is, I'm not interested in your limiting beliefs. I'm interested in what makes you limitless. So the opportunity is there. It's equal opportunity, different results. And the different results are going to be, how committed are you? Do you understand the model that you're selling? And do you believe in yourself? Any questions so far? You can put them in the chat as well. Okay, good. So step number one, understanding the brokerage. If you don't understand the brokerage yourself, how can you explain it to others? This is really key, is you have to practice. So when we think about, like, if some of you took my script master class that we had a couple of weeks ago, it talks about scripting is the anatomy of a conversation. You don't have to sound robotic. You don't want to sound scripted, but you also have to know what you're talking about and be able to handle objections. If you're not familiar with the model yet, then you need to find your upline, your senior partners, your mentor, whatever it is, and start bringing them into the conversation. Because as you hear them handling objections, you're in turn going to learn how to handle those objections as well. What you don't want to do is that you've never practiced and you get in front of a potential agent and then all of a sudden you just get stuck because you've never practiced and you don't have a response for them. So make sure you understand the model, do your due diligence, do your research, involve your senior partners or other agents within your company or your upline or your mentor, however it's structured, and have them help you through the process. If you don't know where you are or where you're going, how can you expect others to follow you? So when we think about the roadmap to success, let's say we were going to drive across country from New York to California. I would imagine that we're going to have some kind of map, some kind of guide or GPS, right? Otherwise, what would happen? You run the risk of getting lost. And what happens is anytime in business, we shouldn't do anything any different in business. We should have a roadmap of exactly where we want to go. But just like as we were going to drive across country, we have to allow for detours. But when you have your future mapped out and you allow for detours, then you can immediately get back on track because you know exactly where you're going. More importantly, the biggest thing with agent attracting, whether it's to your brokerage or to your team, you have to create and paint a vision and know exactly where you're going. That way people can follow you. That's what truly being a leader is painting a vision and developing other leaders. You can't do that if you don't understand where you're going yourself. Does that make sense? Awesome. I'll take the silence as a good thing. So after we've understood, so step number one, we've understood our brokerage model. And the second part of this is become a master inviter. Most real estate companies or teams that are constantly recruiting agents always have some kind of event that you can invite agents to. So even if you're not the presenter, you just learn to become a master inviter. And so some examples would be, local events. Sometimes brokerages will do like a career night or a lunch and learn. The key with lunch and learns is not just to do a presentation about your company, but also to provide and lead with value. So if you can have not a bait and switch type of scenario, but if you can have some kind of lead value add class, like for example, you're teaching how to lead generate before the pitch to the brokerage, then people will be more likely to attend, right? So it kind of needs to be a safe environment where people don't feel like they're being recruited, but you're showing potential prospects what it's like to potentially work with you, your team, and your brokerage. Now, networking is not just about connecting people. It's about connecting people, people with ideas, and people with opportunities. So what do I mean by that? Again, you have to, as the leader and somebody that you want people to follow you, is you have to paint that vision, that opportunity, share ideas, and really create a safe and a collaborative environment. I will tell you, when I started at my brokerage and I really started recruiting a lot of agents, I did it by doing faithfully a lunch and learn every single week. So same day, same time, same location. If you can't attend it this week, then you can attend it next week. And we always had a different value add class followed by a presentation about our company. So, that's one of the best ways to do. If you're not comfortable to put on a lunch and learn yourself, then I'm sure there's people probably in your market that are already doing that. They won't mind if you piggyback off of them as well. Like I said, there's a lot of companies that do career night type of events, movie nights, just a way to really show that collaborative community that agents are looking for. Also, when it comes to lunch and learns, you can get a sponsor. So maybe a title rep, insurance agent, inspector. A lot of times they'd be more than willing to come in and just to be able to speak with the agents momentarily and also gather their information. They'd be willing to come in and most likely pay for the venue, the food, drinks, etc. So complexity is the enemy to success. The reason why I say this is agent attraction or recruiting, whatever you want to call it, is not difficult by any means. Now, with that said, it's also not easy. It does take persistence. It takes consistency and it takes commitment. When we think about the compound effect, which is a book by Darren Hardy, the compound effect is about creating successful wins every single day that are going to compound over time into what people might view as an overnight success. So it's not super easy. As a matter of fact, people think it's a lot easier than what it is, and that's why they get discouraged. On the flip side of that, we're not doing rocket science. We're not doing brain surgery. So it's not super complex. And usually for the return on compensation, it's well worth the return on time and return on investment. So with that said, don't make it too complicated. This is one of the industries I was just talking offline just a bit ago. You can never know everything in real estate. I've been in the industry 14 years and I'm still learning every single day, as we should be, because every deal, every transaction, every client is different. Now, with that said, you also don't want to make it too complicated and you want to just get in there and get started. And that's one of the beautiful things about the real estate agent. With the right mentorships, with the right brokerage, with the right training and support, you can immediately get in and start to learn as you get paid. So essentially, you're going to get paid compensation, as we call it, for contribution. Any questions so far? If you're just now joining us, please put your name, license number, and email in the chat to be able to get CE credit for Oklahoma. Does anybody have any questions? All right. So as we mentioned, consistency matters. This is where I developed the C4 formula. If you follow this formula, I promise you, you will be able to attract agents. So C4, get ready for the explosion. I know it sounds a little bit cheesy, but I promise you it works. So as we've already talked about, step one is to commit. You have to commit to yourself. You have to commit to your goals, and you have to commit to a timeline. Step two is connect. That's where our job is, to connect with as many people as possible through networking events, through lunch and learns, through social media, through making phone calls, whatever it is. Your job is to connect with as many real estate agents as you can. And then as you've done that, you want to consistently communicate. So there's a saying that if you own the mind share, you own the market share. So how do you stay top of mind? Because especially if you're recruiting agents, whether it's to your brokerage or to your team, the fact of the matter is you're asking somebody to completely uplift and uproot their entire business and move it over to a completely different business and start all over again. That is no easy task. Even if they see the vision with you, they see the vision with your company, they see the vision with your team, it's all about timing and finding the right time to do that. So just think about it. We're not selling them, an icy over here or a hamburger. We're selling them a change for their business and an opportunity. And sometimes it takes time. As a matter of fact, we just brought on a very large team in brokerage, the #1 team, production team in Oklahoma. And that's been an ongoing conversation for 8 years. So that just goes to show you want to consistently be communicating, developing those relationships, and staying top of mind. The best attractors that I've seen are people that are very good at networking, communicating, and just making people feel comfortable and safe to talk with them. So as Grant Cardone would say, the difference between a contact and a contract is the R, which stands for relationship. So think about how can you consistently build the relationship and not just come across like you're recruiting people all the time. And then of course, the last C in this formula is close. So once you close them, when the time is right, then you onboard them onto your team or your brokerage. But we don't just stop there. You never want to recruit people and then just leave them. Now it comes into really the second phase of agent attraction, which is attrition and retention and helping those agents become successful. So when you're sitting down with an agent, you might ask, what do you do? And what I always say, and this is just kind of a joke on EXP, just because I'm affiliated with EXP, but of course this is can be across for any brokerage, is I always tell agents you don't want to EXP on everyone, right? So although we're excited about our team or our brokerage, you don't want to sit down with somebody and just vomit on them everything that's great about their brokerage. I say that from personal experience. That's what I did in the very beginning, and I absolutely did it the wrong way. So I'm sharing with you everything that I did wrong and then how you can make it right. So when you're sitting down with an agent, you want to do less talking. There's a reason why we have one mouth and two ears, and more listening, getting to know the agent, truly doing a needs analysis and trying to figure out how whatever your product is, like I said, whether it's your brokerage or your team, how it's going to help improve their personal and professional life and help them reach their goals. So there's a great proverb out there. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. We've all heard of that before, but this could not be more true when it comes to agent attraction. So how do you do a needs analysis? Understand where your prospects are in their business and their life. So not just business, but also what are their personal and professional goals, and then are those goals in alignment? And then if those goals, to see how your brokerage or team can be the fastest vehicle to get them to where they want to go. So if I'm talking with an agent, for example, that needs more leads, they want to double their business, maybe I start talking then to them about KV Core, which is a lead generation platform that we have. If I'm talking to maybe a top producer that they have a lot of business, but they want to leverage and start building out a production team, then I can share with them how we can help them create a production team. Maybe I'm talking to a top team that already has a production team, but they're tired of the constant real estate roller coaster and they want to find an exit strategy. So then I start talking to them about stock ownership and revenue share and how to create leverage and multiple streams of income. So you can see how I cater my conversation based on what the agent's looking for. Maybe if I'm talking to a brand new agent that's never had a transaction, they don't even know what they need yet, then I talk to them about the coaching training that we have available, as well as the mentorship program. So really sit there and understand and do a needs analysis. The fact of the matter is, most human beings, it's just human nature, we make decisions based off of emotion and not just off of numbers. So there's certain questions when I sit down with an agent, I'll ask them emotional type questions like, what do you feel is missing in your business right now? There's a reason why I use the word feel, because I'm bringing out that emotional response so they can be true and honest with me. If I share with them the bigger, greater business opportunity, instead of asking what they think about it, because honestly, our brains are always wired to go to the negative first. I say, what excited you about what you just saw? So that way I'm triggering the response to be more positive and to instantly go in the direction of what excited them. Any questions on what a needs analysis would look like? And like I said, just a quick reminder, make sure you put your name and license number, as well as your email in the chat to get CE credit in Oklahoma. Has anybody done a needs analysis? Quiet group today. All right. So after you've done the needs analysis, now you're going to start asking pain questions. Doris said no. No, thank you. Appreciate that. So then you're going to start asking them pain type questions. Like I say, questions that are going to bring out emotion. As I mentioned earlier, what do you feel is missing missing in your business? So again, using the word feel very intentionally. Then I can start getting into the math type questions. So once I've gotten a bigger picture of what their personal goals are, what their professional goals are, how we can be the fastest vehicle to get them from A to Z, what they feel is missing in their business right now. Now I can start getting into the nitty and gritty and really comparing apples to apples and get into the math type questions. So that question might be, what is your current financial structure at your brokerage right now or team? What's the cap? What's the split versus what's the bigger opportunity? So for us, the brokerage that I'm affiliated with, I always say we're not the cheapest brokerage. If you're looking for the cheapest brokerage, then that we might not be the right fit. So if somebody's looking for more of that immediate gratification, we may or may not be the right fit for them. But if somebody's looking for a bigger opportunity, they want a brokerage that's competitive, that has a high split, that has a cap, in meaning, how much money they're going to pay into their brokerage every year, which is incredibly important. And then also they understand that there's greater and bigger opportunities above and beyond that. That's where I can truly come in and help them and have a better conversation. So the fact of the matter is, whatever company you're with, it doesn't matter. It's not a one size fits all. There's no company that's the best fit for every single real estate agent. Hence why we have competition in our marketplace. Competition is always good because, of course, competition brings the best out of everyone. But that's why it's important to get to know the agent, because if an agent comes to me and says, hey, I just want to sell 3 houses a year, I don't want to do any more. I'm just looking for maybe a flat fee, 100% company, the cheapest option to be able to hang my license and do a couple deals, then I might just redirect them somewhere else. I'll still share with them the opportunity, but the fact of the matter is we may or may not be the right fit. So again, needs analysis, we've asked the pain type questions and we've asked the math questions. Now we start painting that future for them. So what are their future goals? I will ask them, where do you see yourself in 5 years? If you're doing what you're doing today, if you're doing that 5 years from now, how is anything going to change? Right. And then you can cater your presentation accordingly. And of course, as I mentioned, add emotion. It's not to be manipulative by any means. It's just to bring out something that agents potentially haven't thought about yet. So if agents say, hey, I want to become a millionaire, awesome. What kind of mentorships, what kind of team leaders, who do you have in place that's going to show you how to do that? Or maybe an agent says, I want to become an investor. That's great. How much money are you setting aside from your real estate commissions to be able to start investing into real estate? How are you going to create multiple streams of income to start leveraging that? If they will say, I want to build out a big team, maybe I want to build out a nationwide team and grow across the country. Awesome. How are you going to do that with your current structure that you're at right now? So again, when you know all those things and you know the ins and outs of what your company or your team offers, now you can cater the presentation to exactly what they're looking for. So I'll give you an example. A lot of times when we try to recruit somebody on why we joined our company. So I could say that I joined my company for technology, for the opportunity to leverage and build out revenue share. But maybe I'm talking to somebody that they just want to go from 10 deals a year to 20 deals a year. They could care less about all the training that's involved. They could care less about the revenue share. I shouldn't be focusing on that with them. I should be focusing on the lead generation platforms that we have and how we can help them sell more homes. Or maybe I'm talking to a top producer that wants to learn how they can earn stock back in their company. So I need to be catering the conversation to the stock and not the lead generation. Does that make sense? Because a lot of times we try to sell people on why we joined, but if I sit in a room, I've taught this class to 75, 100 people at any given time, and I ask everybody to raise your hand on why you joined the company, different people are going to raise their hand for different types of categories and different things. Any questions so far? Good. So we're actually going to finish this super, super early just because we're rolling through this pretty quickly with the attendance today. So let's go ahead and take a quick 10-minute break. All right, looks like we're all back. So we talked about the C4, the formula to help explode your business, which is, commit, consistently communicate, and then, of course, you're going to close. So now we're going to talk about the 3 R's, which are really the lifeblood of your business. And this is for agent attraction or even helping buyers and sellers. So the 3 R's stand for relationships, respect, and reputation. As I mentioned at the very beginning of this, if you don't know who you are and where you're going and what your future holds for you, how can you expect other people to follow? And so that really goes in line with kind of respecting yourself as an individual from a personal and professional manner. And of course, really paying attention to your reputation. So relationships are key. People join people. I'm going to say that again. People join people. Doesn't matter how long you've been in the business, doesn't matter how experienced you are or how many transactions you do. They're going to join you because they like, know, and trust you. So people join people. The brokerage that you're selling is just the platform. Again, the brokerage or team, however, whatever you're doing to recruit to, that's just the platform. So if you hear all the time agents are like, I love my broker. Why do they say I love my broker? They may say they love their brokerage, but a lot of times they say they love their broker because people join people and they work with somebody that they know that they love and respect and that's going to be there for them. So then, of course, respect your peers. Now, I know in real estate, we're all representing buyers and sellers. We definitely have some difficult transactions from time to time. And the reality is sometimes we don't always agree with the other side, the other agent that's on the other side of the transaction. The fact of the matter is we're just communicators in real estate. As the agents, we're just communicators. We're not here to make any decisions for our clients. Thus, we should never get upset with other agents on the cross transaction because you never know what the future holds. Maybe in the future, you're trying to add them to your brokerage. Maybe you're trying to add them to their team, or maybe you're going to have another transaction with them. So you want to make sure that you don't burn that bridge. And then, of course, as I mentioned, touched on briefly, looking at your reputation, focusing on your reputation, because that is everything in the real estate space. Now, I briefly touched on this earlier, but I'm going to kind of elaborate on this, a little bit further. So when you're doing a needs analysis with an agent and you're asking them how they're going to get from A to Z, so where they are now versus where they want to go, and then are they in the fastest vehicle to be able to reach those goals? And so I think about it like this, and I often explain it this way, just kind of as a visual, is let's say you're in a race and one of you's on a 10-speed bicycle and the other person is driving a Ferrari. If you're on the 10-speed bicycle, it doesn't matter how fast you're going, how fast you're pedaling, how bad you want it. The fact of the matter is the Ferrari is always going to win. They're going to reach the destination faster. So this is not a turtle versus the rabbit type of scenario. Is you're going to reach the destination, absolutely, especially if you're committed and you have enough determination, you're willing to put in the work. But are you in the fastest vehicle? Can you get there much faster than what you are right now? So ask yourself, are you in the fastest vehicle, number one, for yourself to be able to get from A to Z? But then ask the agents, are they in the fastest vehicle? I know you love your brokerage. I know you love your broker, and I know that you're loyal to them, but are you more loyal to your goals and to your family? And are you in the fastest vehicle to be able to get there? I'll kind of open it up if anybody has any questions so far.
This is a great example even to use with list Facebooks.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, like I said, a lot of what I'm sharing today, of course, today's topic is agent attraction. But if you think about it, these are a lot of the same principles that we can use with buyers and sellers. So I think that was Avanya. How would you use this type of scenario for sell by owners?
I would approach, houses that have been sitting in the market as Facebooks for a while, and I will explain that, if they allow us to help them, we could get them there faster. And then I would use this, like right now, you're a 10-speed bike, but myself and my company can get you in a Ferrari.
I love it. So do you see how kind of the visual, I think when you explain it, I know it sounds a little bit cheesy, but
But
when you
it
explain,
it gets the picture done. Sometimes people need a picture.
right, right. Absolutely. I just kind of imagine somebody there on their bicycle, just, going as fast as they can. And so when you think about for sale by owners, and I know this is a little bit off a topic, but for sell by owners, don't care typically how great the agent is. And as a matter of fact, if you want, I have a class that we taught a couple weeks ago. It's called List to Sell. And so anybody, if you want it, just drop your email. I'll be happy to send it to you. But, real estate agents always go into a listing presentation to show how great they are, how great their companies are with this default listing presentation. When the fact of the matter is, sellers just care about a handful of things. They care about how you're going to get the house sold in the least amount of time possible and for the most amount of money, right? So instead of having this candid listing presentation, I always had a 52-point marketing plan that will show them exactly how I'm going to get them from A to B, the fastest way to sell their house in the fastest time as possible and for the most money. So showing them a marketing plan that actually works as opposed to just this generic listing presentation that everybody else is doing. Any other feedback on that or how you would use this scenario?
I like that what you said at the end, that the marketing plan. We're actually showing them how we're gonna do it, not just selling ourselves.
That's great. And so I'm curious, Ivania said that she would use this in a for sale by owner capacity. How else do you feel like you could use this type of philosophy or visual, if you will?
I love the question that you said about who are they faithful to? And when you said it, it was like, wow, that's a harsh question to ask when you're doing agent attraction, but it's like a wake up question. Like, I know you like your brokerage, but are you more faithful to them than to your goals? Because I know a lot of people, I talk to a lot of people, and it's a lot of people that are in the business for like 20 years. And if they get into a car accident tomorrow, that's it. Their career is done because they don't have a team. They don't have people that they sponsor. They don't have stocks. They don't have anything.
Absolutely. And so a lot of times, in any business plan, we always start with knowing our why. Why are you doing what you're doing? Why did you get into real estate? And of course, attach some emotion to it. Your why should never be, I want to make $200,000 a year, because that's just typically for most people, that's not enough to motivate anyone, right? It has to have some kind of attachment to it. So it could be, I want to take my family on a Disney vacation. I want to pay my kids' medical bills off. I want to make sure that they don't have to worry. I want to be able to pay for their college fund, whatever it is, right? But then you take that a step further. And like you said, are you more loyal to your family? What happens if you don't reach those goals? So, if you don't make $200,000 this year and you have to go back to your kids and say, sorry, kids, I can't take you to Disney, that's going to be a much deeper kind of knife to the heart, if you will, and be able to drive us a little bit more. So you will hear that as a common objection is the timing is not right. Well, there's never going to be a right time, especially for somebody that's a top producer and they're always having deals in the pipeline. There is never going to be the right time. So at some point, you've just got to rip off the Band-Aid and just kind of do it. And so we've got to take a step back a lot of times in our business in order to be able to leap forward. The other common objection is going to be is I love the people that I work with. I love my broker. I'm loyal to my broker, but they see the model, they see the team, whatever it is that you're selling them. And so you say, okay, I understand that. I was loyal to my first broker as well. So, I'm trying to find some common ground and be relatable to them, which is the truth. I did love my first broker. And the reality is, if they're a true friend, that relationship should continue no matter which brokerage I'm affiliated with, right? If it's a true relationship. So are you more loyal to your broker, your current broker, than you are your family and your goals? So a lot of times with agent attraction, it's about us asking those hard questions. And again, like I said, it's not being manipulative. It's asking hard questions that people oftentimes aren't willing to ask themselves. What are some other common objections that you guys hear?
That we are a pyramid scheme.
Pyramid. Okay. So how would you handle the pyramid conversation?
I would explain that this is not about production, but whoever you bring doesn't mean that because you bring me in, you're going to sell more. You're going to get paid more than I get paid. Well, yeah, it does come down to production. But as far as me producing has nothing to do with you or me with the person that I'm bringing in. Because if I decide to not sell anything this year, uh, you will still get paid if you're selling.
Awesome. Avani, to be honest with you, one of the best responses that I can give to somebody that's saying it's a pyramid. And for those of you that are not affiliated with EXP, like I said, today's presentation is brand agnostic. So this could be, at any company that has any kind of revenue share or profit share model. When 9 times out of 10, when somebody says something's a pyramid scheme or an MLM, my question back to them is, that's interesting. Tell me why you say that. So instead of putting them on the defense, right, where they feel like they have to explain themselves, I'm just asking them why they say that. And I will say 90% of the time, they don't really have a response to it. They just say, oh, I heard it is, so it must be a pyramid scheme, right? So I said, okay, so let's look at your old fashioned real estate brokerage where you have a broker owner at the top. That broker owner either buys into a franchise or opens their own independent brokerage to what? To bring on top talent, to recruit and to retain them in order to earn a percentage or a flat fee. Is that right? So unless you're starting a production team, there's really no way for other agents to create leveraged income off of those agents. So in that model, there's one person at the top, and then there's all these people underneath them, which I think kind of models a pyramid, right? So again, I'm asking them, I'm saying, is that correct? Getting them to agree with me. Now let's flip that model on the head where you're giving everybody an equal opportunity to basically recruit and retain agents. Does that sound like a pyramid model to you? And I'm like, no. Well, if you put it that way, it doesn't sound like one, right? So just again, just kind of throwing back the question to see why they say that and instead of making them defensive. Any other common objections that you guys hear at your companies? Now, just going back to scripting, I know today's agent attraction, but even this goes for buyers and sellers. You know, I have a production team and I passed a lead off yesterday to one of our agents and he texted me back right away, said, oh, I talked to this lead, but she said she's already working with an agent. So I decided to kind of let the lead, die a little bit over the evening. And I called her first thing this morning and had a great conversation with her. Again, I just built that rapport, built the relationship. And I asked her if she's working with another agent. She said no. So I went back to the agent that I sent that lead to and I said, listen, when somebody tells you they're already working with another agent, of course you want to respect that because you never want to step on another agent's toes if they truly are working with somebody. But a lot of times if you're diving in without building the relationship first, that's a common objection that they're going to give you just to get you off the phone. So that's the same thing for agent attraction. People are just going to say, I'm loyal to my broker. I'm not ready to make a move. The timing's not right. It's a pyramid scheme, all these different things. But the fact of the matter is, those are all just excuses that you have to kind of think about like a banana. You have to help unpeel all of those things in order to get them to see that it's the right fit. If it is, it's not always the right fit, right? All right, great stuff. So third-party validation. So anytime you're recruiting to a team or a company, it's really, really important that you don't do it alone. If we remember the proverb that I shared with you earlier, that if you want to go far, you go alone. If you want to go fast, go together. And this is no different. One of the biggest mistakes that I see with agent attraction is people try to do it alone instead of really incorporating their peers, their upline, their senior partners, their managers, their team leaders, their mentors, whatever it is at your company. Every company is different. And how we do that is through third-party validations. So there's a great book by Brian Carruthers. It's called Building an Empire. I highly, highly recommend it. So building an empire talks about third-party validations, because if I'm talking, let's say to Ivania, for example, and I've already built rapport, I've already built that relationship with her, sometimes because of that commonality in that relationship, she would be more willing to listen to somebody else's story than mine because she already is familiar with me. That makes sense. So what my job is to do in third-party validations is to basically hook them. If you think about fishing, his job is to throw out the line to hook them and then get somebody affiliated with the brokerage to kind of reel them in and help me finish the process. So with that said, as a third-party validation, it's really important that you respect everybody's time. So if I was talking to Ivania and I say, listen, I know that you're interested in EXP or whatever company you're with, like I said, I don't want you just to hear it from me. I want you to hear Heidi's story. Heidi has been with us for a year. She's doing absolutely amazing. She's a top producer. I'd love for you to hear her feedback. Would you mind if I schedule just a quick 15-minute three-way call? So then I'll do a group text and I'll kind of introduce everybody and set a time. Once you get on the phone, then I start introducing everyone. I'm like, Ivania, meet Heidi. Ivania is an amazing agent in New Jersey. She's checking out our company and I'm super excited because I've been looking up to her for a long time. And she just has a few questions. Heidi's been with EXP out of Oklahoma for the last year. She's doing absolutely amazing. And she went from 20 transactions to 40 transactions in the last year. Would you mind sharing your story? So that's how you properly do a third-party introduction. And then as the person that arranged the call, now you just kind of be quiet and let them take over, right? Because one of the biggest mistakes that we do through third-party validations is whoever set up the call tries to take over the call and do all of the talking. But in reality, whether it's a call or a Zoom or meeting in person, all you should do is properly introduce one another and then back up and let the rest take over. So you have all of the tools and resources that you need. Now it's up to you and what you do with them. Does anybody have any questions on how to properly do a third-party validation and why it's so important? Okay, good. Like I said, I highly recommend Brian Carruthers' Building an Empire book. So learn how to properly introduce. That's incredibly important. The reason why I say that is because I do third-party validations all day long where I jump on a Zoom. There's nothing more awkward than jumping on a Zoom and nobody's doing introductions. And as the person that should be validating the conversation, if I don't know who's on the other side, I shouldn't be the one that's starting to do the talking. So it just kind of makes for an awkward introduction, if that makes sense. All right. So how do you get in front of agents? So we already touched briefly, go to a lot of real estate agent networking events, create your own events, maybe a career night or a lunch and learn, but you can also leverage the power of social media. So one of the best ways that we've been able to expand our team across state lines and other countries is utilizing Facebook and Instagram, particularly Facebook, even some LinkedIn, but doing a lot of social media. And so we utilize social media to build relationships with prospecting. So when networking, make it strategic, make it intentional, and build it into your daily life flow. So I say that when I add somebody that's maybe a real estate agent on Facebook, instead of just adding them and kind of leaving it there, I always have a message that goes out to start the conversation. I'm not immediately trying to recruit them. I'm trying to build a relationship, trying to learn more about them to see if they would even be a fit. So my default message that goes out is just, hey, how's it going? Thanks for connecting. Or it's just, hey, how are you? Thanks for connecting. And normally they'll say, oh, I'm doing great. And then I'll look at their profile, take 2 seconds to look at the profile, say, oh, awesome. I see that you're in real estate too. How long have you been an agent? And then that just kind of starts the conversation. So think about it like ping pong or tennis. You want to hit the ball back and forth 6, 7 times before your company or your team or whatever you're recruiting to is ever brought up. One of the worst mistakes that you can do is calling somebody out of the blue, trying to recruit them, and you don't know anything about that agent. You don't know that agent. You don't know what market they're in. You don't know their production, anything. A simple Google search can usually tell you their production, or even just looking at their social media. You know, I mentioned that we just recruited a top production team in Oklahoma, and one of his biggest complaints is that he's recruited all the time. People are trying to recruit him, and they'll call him up and say, hey, so-and-so, are you still in real estate? Mind you, this is a husband and wife team that sold almost 1,000 homes last year. I think they're still in real estate. But when somebody calls them like that, it just shows that they didn't take the time to do their due diligence and to take interest in their business. And then they're really just coming from a shark mentality, trying to recruit them instead of truly getting to know them. So if somebody just takes a few seconds before I call somebody and I look at their social media, maybe I've connected with them on Facebook and I say, hey, you know, Susie, we just connected on Facebook a week ago. I just wanted to be able to chat with you and get to know you and your business a little bit better and see if there's anything that I can do. But I saw that you just went to Florida on vacation last week. How was it? Right. So I just go look at their social media just for a few seconds and I try to find some kind of commonality that I can talk to them about. Same thing goes with lead generation. Same things goes with prospecting for buyers and sellers. The woman that I talked to this morning that I said that told one of my agents yesterday that she was working with another agent, I called her up and immediately I heard a baby in the background. Oh, I hear you have a little one. How old? Oh, she's 1 year old. Awesome. Do you just have one or do you have more? Oh, you have two kids. Oh, I have two kids as well. Right. So instead of going in for the kill, I'm striking up that conversation and building rapport. So how are you guys, whether it's buyers or sellers or agents, how are you guys building rapport and not just making your conversations salesy or just business? Actually, I want to share with you in the chat. So I have a short text code that's on my computer. So when I add somebody on Facebook, I just put FB add, and you can see that my message popped up automatically. So it's, hey, thanks for the ad. Look forward to connecting. How's it going? And that just really starts up the conversation. So ways to connect, like I said, social media, networking, lunch and learns. Of course, if you're actually in sales, then one of the best ways you can connect with other real estate agents is just by simply your cross sales. You know, once you close on a house, don't let closing be the last time you ever see or talk to that agent. Say, hey, Susie, it was great doing that transaction with you. I really enjoyed your professionalism and you made it completely easy to work with. Would you mind if I treat you out for coffee or lunch next week? I'd like to get to know you a little bit better, right? So that's one of the easiest ways to start connecting with agents is just simply by starting people that you've had transactions with. Also, CE classes. As you guys can see here, I'm a CE instructor. Teaching CE classes are a great way for me to connect and build relationships with agents. If you're not a CE instructor, go attend CE classes. We all need CE anyway. So go attend classes in your local market and start meeting real estate agents. I've heard, in our company, Rob Flick, one of our top recruiters, recruited Sheila Fergeron from a CE class in Dallas, Texas. Well, Sheila went and recruited Brent Gove, who is now the #1 recruiter in our company. And so that one contact that he met through a CE class knew somebody else who ended up adding thousands of agents to their organization. So you never know who you're going to meet. Affiliates are another way to connect with other real estate agents. I always ask my title companies, my lenders, my inspectors, hey, if I'm sure you talk to real estate agents all the time, I understand that you have to be brand agnostic, but if you ever hear that agents are looking for another opportunity, I would love if you can just keep me in mind, right? And then of course, referrals from friends, family, or other agents in other states. We already talked about networking events. So the fact of the matter is, where can you not run into a real estate agent? I mean, heck, I get into Ubers and I can run into a real estate agent. So they are everywhere. You just have to learn and start connecting. Do your research. So we already touched on this a little bit. So do your research about the prospect before reaching out. Take time to connect with them on a personal level. Just like I said, if you pull them up on social media, and a quick 2-minute search, you can find out what their hobbies are, what their likes are, how their business is doing, etc. When you invest in people and lift them forward, their potential, they will love you for it. So just showing that you care. Now, everybody always asks me, what is the magic script? If I call an agent, maybe I connected with them on a transaction, maybe I connected with them on social media, or somebody referred me to them. How can I connect with another real estate agent? What is that script? And I'm here to tell you there is no magic script. What I go through, because when we think about scripts are truly the anatomy of a conversation. It's just meant to keep the conversation on track. So I go through an acronym called CIA. So C is compliment, I stands for icebreaker, and A for appointment. So how do I compliment them? Hey, congratulations. I saw that you sold 24 homes last year. That's amazing. Is that just you or do you have a team? Oh, wow, that's just you. You do that as a single agent. That's incredible. I don't know how you do it. So I'm complimenting them, and then I go into an icebreaker to get people to take that guard down and start opening up to have a conversation with me. And then of course, you always want to close with an appointment. You never want to finish a call without setting that next appointment, that next time to talk, that next point of action. Don't just say, hey, we can chat next week. Oh, you want to chat next week? Great. What day works best for you? Monday. Awesome. I'm free at 10 or 2 o'clock. Which time works better for you? So just naturally, progressively be keeping that conversation forward. So that's really what it is. It's just about building the relationship, being energetic, being excited. As Tony Robbins would say, strategy is only 20% of your success. It's 80% psychology, energy, and mindset. So if I get on a call and I'm talking to an agent and I have a really down personality, say I'm not excited, I'm not enthusiastic, chances are I'm not going to recruit that person. But if I'm excited and I'm smiling, because people can even sense that I'm smiling even over the phone, I'm laughing, I'm energetic, then people are going to sense that and they're going to want to continue the conversation. So if you're ever looking for a script to recruit anyone, this is really the anatomy. Just remember CIA. We're going to go ahead and open it up, see if anybody has any questions so far. Or does anybody feel like CIA will help keep the conversation moving along? All right. So the next part of it is thinking about your agent avatar. So when you are in sales, we always say have your ideal client, know exactly what type of client that you're going after, whether it's a first-time home buyer, an investor, whatever it is, somebody looking to upgrade their home, somebody looking to retire and maybe downsize, whatever that is, right? Know who your ideal client is. It's no different in agent attraction. You want to have an agent avatar. What type of agents are you going to attract? And this can vary completely different across the board. Some people go after, the schools and they go after new licensees and they create mentorship programs to help new licensees start to sell. Some people go after, the medium producers or, people maybe selling 2 to 4 million and showing them how to double their income, how to go from 20 homes a year to 40 homes a deal. Maybe that's your specialty. Or maybe your specialty is to teach people how to build a production team, or maybe working with production team owners and how to leverage and start expanding their team, or even broker owners across state borders and create leverage and duplication. So whatever it is, you have to figure out what type of agent are you going to go after. Now, there's nothing wrong to go after newer agents, but the fact of the matter is a lot of people tend to go after the low-hanging fruit. What do I mean by that? It doesn't necessarily mean production level. It just means that we tend to go after people that we feel like we have influence over, meaning we're doing better than them in our minds. I'm not saying that that's always the case. So the reality is, it doesn't matter. As I mentioned at the very beginning of this, I have a brand new agent that's bringing on a brokerage of 100 agents right now. It's just about the relationship, your own mindset, your own energy, your own psychology. If you get rid of all those other limiting beliefs and believe that you can, it doesn't matter your influence over them. It matters how resourceful you are. Are you resourceful? Are you willing to find the answers? Nobody expects any recruiter to have all the answers, but that you have to be willing to find the answers. So how resourceful are you? And are you utilizing your senior management, your upline, your mentors, your broker owner, your team leaders, and their experience to be able to help close any deal? Now, also, if you don't have, some people will say, well, I don't have a success story. Well, that's great. I didn't have a success story whenever I first started either. So when I didn't have a success story of my own, I used other people's success story. As a matter of fact, I still remember I used Brian's story of when he, one of our friends in Arizona, he had a hip replacement. He was out of work for months. And so when the leveraged income that he was able to create saved him from all those months that he wasn't able to provide for his family. So when I didn't have my own success story, I used other people's success story. So that's why it's important in any company that you're affiliated with, know who the top players are, know their stories, know their background. That way, if you're talking to somebody of a similar background, you can really connect them and create that commonality. And then, of course, as I mentioned, be patient. Of course, this is not rocket science. We're not doing brain surgery, but it's also not a quick get rich quick thing. Like I said, you are asking somebody to completely uproot their business and move it over to a completely different team or brokerage. So with that, it takes patience, it takes consistency. And then you have to ask yourself, who's going to help you be accountable? Although I think accountability partners are great, I think everybody should have an accountability partner. But the reality is, nobody's going to hold you accountable more than you and yourself. Nobody's going to care about you and your goals and your family's goals more than you and your family. So you have to hold yourself accountable as well. And just keep asking yourself, am I working on the income producing activities? Am I moving the needle forward? Can I look at the end of the day and say, okay, I accomplished something today, whether it was big or small? And then the last part of this is, what is your freedom number? If you go to my Facebook, we actually talked about this just briefly in an investment series that we did on a Facebook Live today. And we talked about the freedom number. Why did you get into real estate? Was it for financial freedom, time freedom, location freedom? Are you working day to day, transaction to transaction, or are you working to build your legacy? So how you find out your freedom number is by adding all of your expenses up. So all of your monthly expenses, your mortgage, your insurance, your utilities, your food, all of those different things, your phone bill. What is that added up to your monthly expenses? Let's say, for example, it's $5,000 a month. So now I've got to figure out a way to start leveraging myself and become a business owner and not a business operator, and be able to create passive and leveraged income that's more than $5,000 a month in order to truly obtain that financial freedom. So it's important, instead of just saying, I want to be a millionaire or I want to sell 50 homes this year. Well, what does that mean to you? And then take it and divide it out step by step and exactly how you're going to get there. So I'm just curious, you can put it in the chat. You don't have to give me a number. How many of you, yes or no, know what your freedom number is right now? Great. I see a couple yeses, so that's good. If you don't have it or you haven't taken time to fill out this sheet, just shoot me a message and I'd be happy to share this document with you and you could actually use it as a guide. So you've heard me say this already throughout the presentation. With any company that you're with, most of the time it's equal opportunity, different results. There is opportunity out there. You're going to succeed as much as you believe that you can succeed. So what's stopping you? Is it your own mindset? Is your own limiting beliefs? Are you not leveraging other people's assistance and other people's experience enough to help you reach the goals? And then last, are you in the fastest vehicle to be able to reach your goals? So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and throw out my contact information here. You can see my cell phone, my email.